Hello Game Boys and Game Girls, I'm the Game Boy Guru and welcome to another pickups video. So the last day, or the last video that I recorded, the last pickups video I recorded, I did that in the morning, and then in that afternoon I got another package in the mail. In addition to that, I had an opportunity to go game hunting again that I didn't realize I was going to have, and so I actually struck gold while I was out for that trip, and found several things, including a couple of items that I was rather excited about. So let's just get right into it. First and foremost, the package I received in the mail was from a fellow rfgeneration.com member, shameless plug, named Tinstar, and big shout out to him because he hooked me up big time with some stuff. It's all boxes, manuals, and art and related stuff, but very cool. And some of this will complete, a couple of these things will complete some pieces that I have, and just some of the rest of it is for future use. So he sent me a bunch of Game Gear related stuff. First of all is this really cool poster that on one side is all Game Gear advertisements and talking about different games, and on the other is a Batman Returns poster, which I believe I may have one of these already that I got with another Game Gear lot that I purchased off eBay a while back. But either way, still cool to have. This one's in really good shape. At least the Batman poster side. This other side is a little worn, but you know, for as old as it is, that's to be expected. He hooked me up with some loose Game Gear manuals. So we've got Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Now I've got a complete boxed copy of this, but I also have a loose cart. So I may try and pair up the manual and the cart as a trade item. Joe Montana Football, which I don't have on cartridge yet. A manual for the first Sonic the Hedgehog game, and I don't know, this is a black and white non-glossy paper manual, so I don't know if this was for a later release of the game or if that's the way the original manual came. But in any case, I don't have the original Sonic the Hedgehog game for Game Gear yet, so that'll definitely be one I'll have to be out on the lookout for. There's Surf Ninjas, which is completely ludicrous. I love it. And World Series Baseball 95, which I'm pretty sure I don't have, although I'd have to double check. I also got some boxes and manuals from him. And so we've got Disney's The Jungle Book, which I don't have the cart for. Sonic Spinball, which I believe I do, so if so, that would complete that. Caesar's Palace. I don't have the Game Gear version, I've got the Game Boy version, which I'll be reviewing at some point. And then Deep Duck Trouble, starring Donald Duck. And I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure I've got the cart of that, so that would complete that as well. That would put me up to either 4 or 5 complete Game Gear games, like complete in box. So very cool. He also included the NES Max booklet, which is great. I know a lot of people hate on the NES Max and aren't necessarily fans of it, but I like it for certain types of games. I like it for NES shmups, mostly because they're typically more fast action, twitch, moving all over the screen type of shooters versus later shooters where you can often find safe zones or things like that, and very little movement from here to there is required to kind of weave through enemy and bullet patterns. I got a manual for Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I don't have this yet. I've got Majora's Mask, but I don't have Ocarina of Time on the 64 yet. So when I do, I will have the manual. He included a jewel case and tray card for Monsters Inc. Scream Team. And I may have a complete version of this. I'm not 100% sure. I know I've got a GameCube Monsters Inc. game, but I'm not sure about PlayStation. So that was a fun little bonus. This one I'm kind of excited about. This is a box and manual and artwork for Tin Head on the Sega Genesis. So rather than actually looking for everything, now I can just look for the cartridge to pop in there, and then I'll have a complete copy of that. I usually only buy complete Sega Genesis games, but in this case, I will look for the cart. And finally, or no, I shouldn't say finally, but next up we've got some box and manual, long box PlayStation stuff here. So we've got Goldstorm by Konami, and even has the foam there. We have Jupiter Strike, which I have not even heard of. I may have seen it before in a store, but it doesn't ring any bells. It actually looks kind of cool, like sort of a tunnel shooter, not unlike, say, Hyperzone for the Super NES or something like that. So that actually looks like a game I would play. So I may have to seek out a disc-only copy of that, so I can complete that and actually have this one to play, because that looks like fun. And Alien Trilogy, so kind of cool to see that. That's a neat deal. It's got a price sticker along the spine, which isn't great, but it says pre-owned, $39.95. So somebody paid, oh, and it's on the front too, somebody paid $40 for this at one point, pre-owned. But yeah, this looks like it could be fun as well. So I'll be looking for a disc-only copy of that also. And then finally, in this box, got a couple more Sega things. A 32X Cosmic Carnage box, or outer slipcase, I should say. So I may be putting this up in my sale trade stuff. A poster for Virtual Fighter, which, when it's completely folded out, is pretty cool, because it's got it is a poster with the entire cast of fighters from Virtual Fighter, and then on the flip side is all the moves. So that's pretty cool. I'm not a big Virtual Fighter guy. I do have Virtual Fighter 2 for the Saturn, and this may be the booklet actually that was included with the jewel case version of Virtual Fighter. I'm not 100% sure, but kind of cool to have that. And the last item that I got in the mail in box was the tray card or back artwork for Iron Man XO in Heavy Metal for the Sega Saturn. One of those games I wish I would have picked up years ago. It was apparently released on both Saturn and PlayStation. And anyway, so if I ever come across a copy that is missing the tray card or back artwork, or that one is in bad shape, I've got a backup copy. So very glad to have that. Many thanks to TinStar for providing those goodies. Now on to items from the hunt. I stopped at a pawn shop and 2 Goodwill locations. I scored a few things at one Goodwill. I scored a small handful of items at the pawn shop, a large batch from the Goodwill location, and then one particular item that I'm most excited about from the other Goodwill. The rest of their selection was terrible, but this one item, very, very excited about. So let's start with the pawn shop. I got a handful of PlayStation 2 games, starting with Wheel of Fortune from 2003 by Atari, apparently. And even back in 2003, it's amazing how Vanna White continues to defy age. I have no idea. She's like Mary Kay, you know. She just doesn't not look as old as she probably is. But that's okay. She does her thing on the TV show and in this game apparently. Used to watch that a lot as a kid, so that'll be fun to mess with. I got 007 Agent Under Fire Greatest Hits, and I think I've got this on another console or possibly the Black Label version for PS2. I'll have to double check. I've got most of the 6th gen 007 games already. Agent Under Fire, Nightfire, Everything or Nothing, and there's one more, I think. Anyway, so cool to have that. This one actually, I don't know if this has voices, like voice acting in it from any of the actors. I know one of the other ones does, and I'll be mentioning that later. Foreshadowing. I got Need for Speed Undercover, which unfortunately has sort of a beat-up case. I'll have to see if I can score some PS2 cases to replace that. But I've got Undercover 2. I've had that for a while, but not Undercover. So good to have that. This one's interesting. I'd never heard of it, but it is Civil War Secret Missions. And it is apparently sponsored or done by the History Channel. And so, not that everything on the History Channel is 100% historically accurate. They have a lot of dramatizations and things like that. But nonetheless, very interesting. The Civil War was war in general is interesting because of the myriad reasons why humanity likes to fight itself or one another. And so, anyway, I thought this was kind of a neat deal and might be interesting to play through. Although it looks like it's by Activision, it looks like it's more of like a third-person action game than an actual historical like strategy. Here's the battles and the strategy they put into it. So we'll see. I also picked up Spider-Man 3, and this is an interesting copy because it appears to have come from a rental place, movie gallery specifically. And so you can see the cover looks normal, but when you look on the back, it's got like controls and stuff like that on the back and gives you a game synopsis. And so it actually was a rental specific copy. Normally I wouldn't buy stuff like this, but I kind of thought it was interesting, especially for a game based on a movie as notoriously lousy as Spider-Man 3 was. So, yeah, interesting to kind of find that. So I picked it up. Moving on to Goodwill location number 2, they had a ton of stuff that I picked up. So right away, let's start with Counterforce, which from what I've read is a rather low budget, low quality Wii game. It looks sort of like a rail shooter almost. And anyway, it's like you flying around in this mech, shooting stuff, and it looks pretty basic, pretty boring. But at Goodwill prices, why not? It was dirt cheap. It's another game to add to the collection. And it'll probably be one of those that I could pop in some evening or afternoon on a weekend and just mess around with it for a few minutes and laugh at it. Speaking of 007 games, like I mentioned, this is Everything or Nothing. And I've got another version of this on at least one other console, I think PS2. But the thing I found interesting about this is, as you can see here, it is compatible with the Game Boy Advance connectivity that some GameCube games took advantage of. So there is additional content. Not sure what that entails, whether you use that for inventory management or whether there's like a 2D action type of stage that you get as a bonus content or something. So that'll be interesting. My assumption is, and I haven't read one way or another to confirm this, but my assumption is whatever this bonus content is, is only available on the GameCube version. And so that's kind of cool. This actually has full voice acting from Pierce Brosnan, who was Bond at the time, plus Willem Dafoe, Shannon Elizabeth, Richard Kiel, Heidi Klum, Maya, who also has a song in the game, Masaki Ito, John Cleese, and Judi Dench. So my guess is this was scripted and either planned to be a movie, or maybe they planned to do it as a video game, and when the actors and actresses were under contract to do one or more of the Brosnan era Bond films, that they just recorded all the voiceovers for this at the same time that they were doing one or more of the other films. So kind of interesting, but this one might be extra fun to play through because of all the official voices and people who are in the game. That's not to say the plot will be any good, because the latter Brosnan era films kind of fell flat and steered off into latter day Roger Moore era cheese. So it's probably nowhere near as good as GoldenEye in terms of the story. Actually quite liked GoldenEye as a Bond film. But anyway, I think this will be fun. This is a game I'd not heard of, but I picked it up. It's Driven, and it looks like it's just an F1 racer, but it has multiple views behind the car, in the cockpit, and I don't know if there's like a bumper cam, as you call it, or whatever, but it looks like there are some... Oh, here we go. Inspired by Sylvester Stallone's hit movie Driven. Race on 8 stunning tracks, including California's Angels Bay and Paris's Champs-Élysées. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it does have voices from Sylvester Stallone, Greg Proops, and Eric Myers. So another movie-based game, except this one from an actual movie. So we'll see if that's a decent racing game or not. And third and last in the GameCube stuff, one that I've been looking for a while on any console, and that is Cell Damage. This is a over-the-top racing game. It's cel-shaded graphics, of course, so it's probably going to look a little better than some of the other stuff from that era. And all sorts of wackiness, 4-player simultaneous, sort of a battle racer in the Mario Kart Crash Team Racing type of vein. So that, I've heard, is a fun game, and I look forward to checking that out. Moving along, I found a bunch of Xbox stuff, including some demo discs. In my previous pickup video, I talked about, I showed off some PlayStation 2 demo discs that I found at a thrift store. And so this one, I've got 4 different PS2, or Xbox demo discs. So I got 47, 49, 57, and 58 from the official Xbox magazine. And so this one has footage of more than 20 Xbox 360 games, plus all new Xbox game demos. It's got a demo of, looks like Sid Meier's Pirates, and a demo of Dark Watch, which actually I have for the Xbox. Battlefield 2, of course, which I showed off in my last collection video. So kind of funny to now have the demo of that as well. Plus a video of Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, Full Auto, Condemned, and the Xbox 360 Preview Challenge. The next one is 7 playable demos, including Far Cry Instincts, Brothers in Arms Earned in Blood, The Suffering Ties That Bind, which I have, Burnout Revenge, which I believe I have, Indigo Prophecy, which I have, Cold War, which I don't have, and then Conflict Global Terror. So that's pretty cool. That's number 49. Number 57, by this time you can see on the front there for Xbox and 360, so it has different things. New demos for original Xbox and Xbox 360. It says stop the clock, play Time Shift on your Xbox 360, which for those of you who watched my first What I'm Playing video, I just completed that game. Crackdown, The Outfit, a bunch of 360 screenshots, and then different things. So pretty cool there. Oh, here we go. Playable demos. 360 demo of Time Shift, and then an original Xbox demo of Hitman Blood Money. Of course, that's on the cover. And then Disc 58 has, again, 5 demos, it says. 360 demos for The Outfit, Ridge Racer 6, Punishing Poundings, second and third round, and then original Xbox demos of Warpath, Toka Race Driver 3, and Panzer Elite Action, plus a bunch of video of different games like Final Fantasy XI, Gears of War, Urban Chaos, Grandma's Boy, not sure what that is on the 360, etc., etc. So those are pretty cool. It's always fun to find demo discs and interesting items like that out in the wild versus just strictly games. I also picked up 4 original Xbox games. Ghost Recon 2, Summit Strike, which I did not have yet. Kind of slowly building the Ghost Recon game library throughout the PS2, Xbox, and PSP. I got America's Army, Rise of a Soldier, which, for those who aren't familiar with this, it was originally a free game on PC that was offered as kind of a courtesy, if you will, from the U.S. Army. And probably a bit of a recruiting tool, if you will. Shooter game that people could go and download and play and kind of inspire or encourage young lads to enlist with the military. But kind of cool. I've actually heard it's a decent game. Destroy All Humans 2. Have not played either of the games on PS2, Xbox, GameCube, but apparently they're fun. And this one supports 480p, so that's cool. I've got component cables with my Xbox, so that'll be nice to see that in crisp 480p. And the Xbox game I am most excited about is Republic Commando. On my last pickups video where I grabbed Battlefront and Battlefront 2 for the Xbox along with some other stuff, they had Republic Commando there, but I passed it up because it wasn't complete and the disc was in poor shape. This one, the disc really isn't in any better shape. It's pretty scratched up, but it looks like it would still be readable and I can have it resurfaced. But this game is going for decent amounts of money, and this one is complete. So now I have this well-regarded, well-reviewed Xbox exclusive game, Star Wars game. Now the other Goodwill store that I went to usually has very little. Most of the good stuff goes to the Goodwill that I just went through all the stuff from. And that's probably the biggest haul I've had at that Goodwill for quite some time. But the other store is usually where I find original PlayStation games. Occasionally, they'll have a DS game or something like that. Or once in a great while, I'll find a decent PS2 or Xbox game there. But this time around, I found I don't want to say a holy grail, but definitely a game I've been after for a long time, and that is Thexter. Now this is the PC game, and the cool thing about this, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up or not, but this is you can see there Tandy/IBM and MS-DOS compatibles, and it mentions there about halfway down the sticker in the middle, Tandy and PC Junior graphics modes. I have an IBM PC Junior. That's the computer that my family had when I was growing up for a number of years, and put tons of hours into the original PC Junior version of King's Quest, and then a handful of other PC Junior formatted games, like I have the PC Junior version of Paperboy with 16 color graphics mode, and I also have what is it, EA? I think it's EA. One-on-one basketball, Larry Bird versus Julius Erving, or Dr. J, and put a lot of time into that. And I also have most, if not all, of the PC Junior cartridge releases in the plastic long boxes that sort of fold out like cassette cases and have the booklets and all of that, plus the actual game cartridges that slot into the front of the PC Junior. But this is awesome because it's the PC Junior version. I've known about this for years, but I just have never been able to find a copy. And so you've got the slip cover that comes off, the nice box with the Sierra logo on it. And Sierra, surprisingly, offered a lot of support to the PC Junior for the first several years. Inside is a lot of stuff in here. There's the standard PC 3.5-inch floppy version of the game. There is the 5.25-inch floppy version, which is what I'll need to use on the PC Junior, assuming I ever have room to hook it up somewhere again. It's currently relegated to my basement for the moment, but this is the version I'll be playing, assuming the discs work. They look like they're in good shape. They're undamaged, other than some, I don't want to say wear, but just some discoloration of the disc labels, probably just oil from the hands gripping and inserting the discs and taking them out. But there's that. There's this important note about a serial adapter of some kind. I'm not sure what that's all about. There's this paper in here which looks like it might have to do with some kind of a cheat code. This says 10/18/93. So somebody bought this years later and put this in here. Bring up menu, worksheet, prompt, hit escape, Dexter, enter, 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 Y, I'm assuming the Y key, and then press a key. So this might have been their own instructions on figuring out how to actually get into the game. Always fun to find original items like that in games like this. There is a Sierra software book from 1988. We're out to make software history, it says. And so this talks about all the different Sierra games that that have been released. And so this mentions a little bit of the history of the company, plus some stuff about different games like Police Quest, King's Quest, Leisure Suit Larry. Of course, it has a feature on the King's Quest series, the first 4 games, the Space Quest series, Police Quest, of course, Mixed Up Mother Goose, which I had as a kid and played. Never got very far, but had some fun with that. Thexter, of course, which is right there, and some other games. So that's pretty cool to actually have that. Nice little catalog that goes with that. Another deal here, an advertisement for Deskmate. And it looks like this was purchased from Radio Shack because it has the Radio Shack stuff there. So my guess is whoever it was that bought this in 1988 was a Tandy owner, because obviously Radio Shack was the Tandy company. There's a Bazooka bubblegum wrapper in here for some strange reason. A deal for a Tandy Color Computer Deluxe joystick, a little manual for that. And funny enough, since the Tandy was basically an IBM PC Junior clone, out here, dog. The joystick was in fact just a clone of the IBM PC Junior joystick, And so pretty interesting to have that. It actually, for some reason, the discs did not come in their sleeves, but it actually has the sleeves. So when I repackage this here in a moment, I'll put them in their sleeves the way they're supposed to be. Another deal in here, something about farm insurance, farm equipment, home insurance. So again, it's just random stuff that someone put in here. This is a Tandy Consumer Service receipt. Looks like this was purchased from the mall, where not too far from where I live, and this person lived not too far from the mall, and they had a hard drive replaced in their Tandy computer. So just fun to kind of see the history on some of that stuff. Another little paper here about the computer games, something that they hand wrote. Another disc sleeve, a Sierra sleeve. So actually there's 3 sleeves, 2 official Sierra sleeves for the game itself, and then 1 blank sleeve. So that's interesting. Another piece in here, Shadow Warriors. Looks like this is actually for a completely different game. So interesting that that got stuck in there. And then finally, what appears to be the second page of a 2-page document on how to actually run the game, or how to configure your config.sys and autoexec.bat files to run the game. So kind of cool. It's been a number of years since I've messed around with changing settings in config.sys and autoexec.bat. So very, very fun to find that. Very cool item to have. Like I said, a game I've been looking for a number of years. Just haven't stumbled across a copy in the wild. Very excited to finally have that. Even if the discs don't work, it's still a incredibly cool item to find the original version of this game, or an original version, I should say, especially one that would theoretically play on my PC Junior. And so very, very glad to see that and have that in my collection. That's all I've got for everyone this time. Thanks for watching. As always, thanks for playing, and game on.